Hello and welcome to the Bold Outdoors YouTube channel. Today we find ourselves at Storm Mountain in Colorado, and currently this is the only trail basically that's open in northern Colorado, excluding the Boulder area and things like that. But you know, all the usual trails that we go to are all temporarily closed because of the fires. And we have the two big fires, the Cameron Peak fire and the Poudre Canyon, that has taken over nearly all of the trails in and around Red Feather Lakes in northern Colorado. And then we have the Mullen fire in southern Wyoming that completely devastated Fox Park and has made its way across the Colorado-Wyoming border. And it's not really too far away from meeting up with the Cameron Peak fire. So both of those are currently over 125,000 acres. So kind of a big deal, and it's a bummer that that's going on right now. So I'm here at Storm Mountain. As I said, it's one of the only trails that is open, and figured I'd go for a quick rip on a Saturday morning. And I also figured I'd go ahead and run video discussing this machine here, because as I've alluded to and said in several videos, that we're well over 5,000 miles. We blew past 4,000 miles. I had recorded a 4,000 mile video and just blew right past that. You know, while I was editing it and getting it together, it's like I'm already well over 5,000 miles. So it didn't make that much sense to me to really put that one out there. And to be honest, I kind of got a little political in it, because I was on Pearson Park Road when I filmed that one, and there's a lot of politics involved in why that trail was closed in the middle, kind of splitting it in two. And yeah, so anyway, that video wasn't really fit for YouTube. It wasn't really a good video. So as I said, we just blew right past 4,000 miles, right into 5,000 miles. And I could not say enough good things about a Polaris RZR Turbo. Fantastic machine. And even though I've done quite a bit of maintenance and I've broken, you know, a few things here and there, overall it has been a fantastic, reliable machine. It really has. And so it isn't really something that you can really review per se. It's like, well, you know, we all know what the power is. We all know, you know, how the transmission works and things like that. But a lot of times, you know, guys maybe don't know or maybe don't understand what it takes to put those miles on your machine. Because I would say the average miles per year in Colorado is damn near like 300, 400 miles a year. Like, it doesn't seem like people really ride that much in this area. It isn't the same as like Utah or Nevada, where some of those guys are putting several thousand miles a year on their machines. And so it comes down to, you know, the conditions. You know, you have conditions like this, essentially rock crawling, versus the open desert guys that are just, you know, going 50, 60, 70 miles per hour through whoops and whatnot. And so the conditions are a lot different, and the conditions are they treat the machine a lot different as well. So what it comes down to is like, what can you expect, you know, to keep a machine that long? You know, what maintenance items do you really need to look out for, and what do you need to expect to do? And for me personally, it's been ball joints. The factory ball joints, I think, lasted nearly 2,000 miles is what I figured, and then I was getting about 1,000 miles out of a set after that, using standard, you know, heavy-duty OEM style ball joints. Now that I've switched to heavy-duty aftermarket ball joints, so I do have the Super ATV adjustable ball joints in the lowers, and I have LM UTV bolt-in U-joints in the uppers. I haven't had any issues since. And so with that said, I highly recommend the LM UTV. I feel they adjust easier, and how they bolt in is awesome. because going through as many ball joints as I did, you start kind of wearing out the attachment point, or the kind of like the ball joint opening, and it gets kind of loose for the circlip. So at that point, you either purchase new A-arms or you kind of give it a little tack weld to hold it in there, which is kind of ghetto, but sometimes that's what you need to do just to, you know, keep your crap box together. So I really like the LMUTV ball joints for that fact that you can just simply bolt them in. A lot of guys like the Killer ball joints, which is the same concept that they bolt in. I'm not sure with the Killer ball joints that you can still use that, I don't know what you want to call it really, if it's a guard or like a cooling duct or whatever it is, but that one aluminum piece that fits on the knuckle above the brake caliper, I believe you have to remove that to use Killer ball joints, whereas you're allowed to keep that with the LMUTVs. So beyond that, you know, I did belts every 2,000 miles or so. I had the OEM belt for 2,000 miles. I had the Ultimax belt for about 1,800 miles or so, and that one started to squeal so bad that I went ahead and put in the Evolution Power Sports World's Best Belt. And the funny thing is, that one squealed and it was kind of jerky at first, but now it's smooth. So maybe there's a little bit of a break-in process. I kind of think out of a box a little bit. I don't really believe in a belt break-in or anything like that. I don't believe in washing it or soaking it down in acetone or anything like that. I basically just throw it in and go. I can't say I'm particularly good about blowing out dust out of the clutches either. I definitely don't have a set schedule when I do that, just kind of whenever. So off in the distance there you see the haziness of the smoke from all the fires. Can't even see Long's Peak. Alright, so other maintenance items would be clutch sliders. I did the initial clutch sliders around, I think like 3,500 miles. It was like this last winter, like if you're just hauling mail down the trail in the snow and you hit the brakes or whatever and you lock up all four tires, it was actually locking up the clutch and killing the motor. And so I replaced those sliders in the primary, and that cured that. So I'm not exactly sure how many miles I had, maybe 3,200, 3,500. And so what I did here recently at about the 5,200 mile mark is I replaced the sliders in both the primary and the secondary. The sliders in the primary didn't look that bad, but I went in and purchased the slider kit from Aftermarket Assassin, so I figured might as well just go ahead and do the primary anyway while I was in there. And the secondaries didn't look that bad. They were definitely worn. However, I mean, did they need to be done? I don't know, but yeah, I did it anyway. And then U-joints for the driveline. Same situation. I think I did the rear prop shaft. So there's the two U-joints there. I did that one, I think probably around the same, about the same time period, 3,200, 3,500 miles. And then I just now did the forward one. So there's only one U-joint in the front prop shaft. They're at the front diff. So I just did that one. That one was completely toast. And I went ahead and did the carrier bearing as well. Carrier bearing was perfectly fine. Bearing spun freely, still sealed, wasn't leaking or anything like that. The rubber was perfectly fine and good condition, but I went ahead and did it anyway. And I used an SKF carrier bearing and Spicer U-joints. I don't believe the XP turbos have as much of an issue with carrier bearings as the XP 1000s do. The driveline is completely different, and how it operates and connects and everything like that. It's a much better design than an XP turbo. There's a lot less tension and pressure on that center carrier bearing with the turbo setup. Other than that, you know, it's oil changes every 25 to 50 hours. I wouldn't necessarily push it out to 100 hours. I think that's a little bit too long. 50 is perfectly fine. I shortened the oil change intervals in the winter because it's a lot more idling, and I believe that introduces a little more fuel. I believe you can get some more fuel dilution in the wintertime with all the idling. So I shortened that time up a little bit. It's not right at 25 hours, but around there, you know. And I do the front diff about the same. That's about every oil change, every other oil change, depending on basically the time of the year. But usually no more than 50 hours on the front diff. And then on the rear diff, I go by miles. I do 1,000 miles. That one can definitely be stretched out. There's really not much of a reason to change it so soon. The oil looks perfectly clear. Oh, I should add, I kind of switch it up in the front, but I've had the demand drive fluid. I actually have no idea where I got that bottle from, but one bottle does like 4, maybe 5 oil changes. Definitely 3 or 4 oil changes out of a quart of demand dry fluid. So, and it actually doesn't cost that much. It's pretty reasonable, and there's nothing really technically wrong with it. So there's really no issue using that in the front diff. However, I would not. Well, I don't know how much of an opinion I should share. Me personally, and it's just my opinion, I would not use the angle gear lube or the AGL in the rear diff and rear diff and transmission. I would not use that. There's plenty of oil analysis online from several different websites that show that it's very inferior oil. It is not very good, mediocre at best. And so in the turbo trans, since it's strictly all gears, and then again, it's my opinion, recommend gear lube. I recommend 75W90 full synthetic. Doesn't matter where you get it from, but that's what I recommend, is the gear lube in the transmission. For the XP 1000 and the 900S and 1000S guys, you do have a reverse chain, and gear lube is not friendly to chains. It's not really designed for it per se, especially this small of a chain as in those transmissions. So at that point, and again, it's my opinion, I would use the Deere High Guard J20C spec hydraulic oil in the transmission. You can even get away with like a 5W20 or 5W30 engine oil in the transmission, but the angled gear lube is not a very good oil. And to expand on that, the PS4 motor oil, again, there's plenty of websites that show that it's crap at best. So, you know, it is what it is. For the 1000 guys, 900 guys, and 570, 800 guys, the Rotella 5W40 is perfect year-round for you guys. Fantastic oil, and it performs fantastic for those engines. For the turbos, they're generating a little more heat, and so the Mobil 1 15W50 is perfect. Got some company. I used to ride this trail in high school on a dirt bike. Doing okay? I know, right? Been there, done that, man. Used to ride dirt bikes here. The conditions right now, man, this trail is chewed up. So those little rock ledges right there are a lot worse than I would say they normally are. But again, the PS4 is not a very good oil. I like to use the Mobil 1 15W50 nearly year round. It definitely, you definitely notice it if you keep your vehicle, your RZR, like parked overnight in the middle of winter. Say it's parked on the trailer or something like that, and you go to start it first thing in the morning. You definitely notice it. So I have used Rotella 5W40 every now and then if I feel like I'm going to be parking that on the trailer a lot or something. There's not really a rhyme or reason to why I do what I do sometimes. But I don't shy away from using 5W40 in the turbo motor, but I feel more comfortable using a 50 weight oil in the summer. I really do love this trail. It's such a pain in the butt to get here though. Yeah, man, even this part's like chewed up. I do realize that Mobil 1 does have a 5W50, and also like Quaker State and Motorcraft have a 5W50 as well. Just such a spread in viscosity from 5 weight to a 50 weight. Man, me personally, I just don't know about that. But I'd use it. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it, but if I received it for free or something, I would definitely use it. Still rocking the original tie rods. I know that's shocking to some, Taylor. But anyway, I'm still rocking those. They're still tight. They still function just as well as pretty much day one. So whatever, it is what it is. I'd probably consider go ahead and changing them out this coming spring. I'm sure I'll have well over 6,000 miles by then. So it'd be a good idea to go ahead and put a fresh set on there. So beyond your normal, everyday, kind of this and that and what and the other, you know, oil changes, air filters, ball joints, U-joints, brake pads, you know, no major anything. I mean, I exploded the front diff, but that was my fault. I've gone through, how many wheel bearings? Three on the passenger rear wheel. Why? I have no idea why it's only that one. These other three, original. Over 5,200 miles, original miles, still tight as day one. I'm not fanatical or anything like that about greasing them. If I grease them once a year at this point, you know, it is what it is. So again, I don't go out of my way to do it. I'm not really into that. I think some guys way over grease their wheel bearings. They cause way more issues than I believe they think they're solving. I need to. So now I'll get into kind of the extraordinary kind of maintenance items. I really need to rebuild my shocks. Polaris, I believe, recommends like 2,000, 2,500 miles to rebuild the shocks. So I'm well over 5,000 miles. It's something I probably should do. One of Shock Therapy's recent videos, they kind of said the same thing. I believe they mentioned 3,000 miles for a recreational rider. They believe racers should be rebuilding their shocks nearly every major race, if not every 1,000 miles. Man, that is crazy to me. So I'm definitely due to go ahead and rebuild these. I checked the nitrogen levels, they're still perfectly fine. So they haven't lost any nitrogen. And it's tough to say like how these are compared to, you know, the showroom floor. I'm sure if they've lost a little bit, I'm sure the oil's just cooked, but the nitrogen's still there. That's kind of a back way. That's Cedar Park. That's kind of a back way into Storm Mountain. There's not really anywhere to park right off of there, you know, say to park a trailer or something. But it's another way to get here. And then the other kind of extraordinary maintenance item is I need to check the lash of the valves. I have not ever done that. And the wives' tale is that if you're having a difficult time starting in the cold, the lash of your valves might be a little too tight. And I could see that, especially with an exhaust or an intake valve being too tight, causing issues with that. And so that's something I need to check. So even though I have over 5,200 miles, how many engine hours do I have? I have 416 hours. So that's really not that bad. So even though I just mentioned idling a lot during the winter, I really don't idle that much overall. I don't particularly like to idle my vehicles, no matter what it is. So that's basically the only really kind of two odd items I really need to take care of when you start piling on the miles. Shock rebuild and checking your valves. The only bad thing about that is how you have to remove the cams in order to change out the lash caps. The shims are built into the buckets. It's kind of a bummer. But a lot of sport bikes are that way, so it's not like an unusual arrangement. It's just a bummer. They don't make it a little easier. You might have noticed too, I have the stock seats back in. The heated seat portion, the pads or whatever, they work way better in these seats than they do in the PRPs. I don't know if that's because the PRPs have the suede leather or if the heating pads are just junk, but they don't work nearly as well as the factory seats. So yeah, I am ghetto. I have the L and W lowering bases on these. They're definitely a lot more comfortable than they were in the PRP seats. I did not like those lowering bases on the PRPs. But on the factory seats, they actually work pretty good. So like I said, I'm rambling a little bit too much. talking about 5,000 miles in your RZR XP Turbo, so might as well end the video now. If you like what I do, please subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I am Josh. This is the Bold Outdoors YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.